The sea, before it has fully awakened, as the wind brushes the shore, before the waves blend into one another. History remembers not the loudest names, but the most patient ones. This story belongs to an admiral who was never defeated, a commander who won without shouting, a life written in silence. His name? Yi Sun-sin. In this narration, we will set out on a long and calm journey, from the birth of a child to the birth of a legend, in the shadow of armored turtle ships, in the darkness of betrayal, and in the ceaseless breath of the sea. To receive the reward for our efforts, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, slow your breathing, let your shoulders relax, and listen to the sound of the waves. This is the story of Yi Sun-sin. Night. As it slowly closed over the Korean peninsula, the wind passed through the mountains and paused upon the rooftops of small villages. It was the year 1545. On these lands, ruled by the Joseon dynasty, life appeared calm, yet the rhythm of the world had already begun to change. But that night, no one was aware of it. A village, a home. Not far from the Han River, in a modest house, a child was born. The sky did not split open, no drums were beaten, nor did anyone raise a pen to record the moment. This child was born in silence. His name was recorded as Yi Sun-sin. Family and origins. Yi Sun-sin's family had a lineage that could be considered noble, but they were not wealthy. His father, a man bound by rules, honest and quiet. His mother, patient, disciplined, a woman who listened more than she spoke. In this home, voices were never raised, emotions were kept within, and patience was the greatest virtue. Joseon, Korea. At the time of Yi Sun-sin's birth, Korea appeared calm from the outside, but in the north, the Manchu threat, in the south, Japanese pirates, intrigues within the royal court, were quietly gnawing at the nation's future. Soldiering was an honorable profession, but at the same time, it was dangerous, and Yi Sun-sin was born into this world while still a child. Childhood years. Yi Sun-sin, unlike other children, did not play in the streets shouting. He stood aside and observed how stones fell, how the wind carried the leaves, where elders paused while speaking. Silence was not emptiness to him. Silence was a teacher. Bow and arrow. From a very young age, he held a bow in his hands, but this was not a game. Yi Sun-sin never rushed when shooting an arrow. He fixed his gaze on the target, set his breathing, and waited for a long time. People thought him slow, but he was listening to time. Books and discipline. Inside the home, there were classical texts, Confucian teachings, morality, loyalty, obedience. Yi Sun-sin did not read these texts out loud. He whispered them, absorbing every word, pondering every sentence. The first dream. With time, a thought began to grow within him, to become a soldier, but not an ordinary one who preserved order, defended the people, yet never put himself on display. This dream was never spoken aloud. It was simply carried within. Silent oath. One day, he went on a long walk with his father. Along the mountain path, the wind was harsh. His father stopped, and said only this: "Strength does not arrive loudly." Yi Sun-sin lowered his head. That was his first oath. Hardships. Because Yi Sun-sin's family was not wealthy, life was not easy. Cold winters, long walks, insufficient food. But there were no complaints, because patience had been taught. His inner world. When Yi Sun-sin was alone, he did not daydream. He thought about what could happen, where an enemy might come from, what each wind might bring, why people made mistakes. These thoughts were his games. The flow of time. Years passed. Yi Sun-sin grew, but his voice did not change. Still calm, still measured, and still no one knew that he would change the course of history. A difference. The villagers found him strange, because no one ever saw him angry, no one ever heard him afraid. He had learned to hide his emotions. This would keep him alive one day. Shadows of the future. Far away on the Japanese islands, preparations for war were underway. But this was still only a whisper. Yi Sun-sin, unaware of it all, continued to grow. Yet fate had already taken its note. A power within silence. Yi Sun-sin's birth was not written in history in bold letters. But some people arrive quietly, and quietly they change the world. This was only the beginning of Yi Sun-sin's story. He was still young, the examinations had not yet begun, the enemies had not yet appeared, but the foundations were laid. Patience, discipline, silence. Chapter 2. Trials of Youth. Night was no different from the night before. But for Yi Sun-sin, time was now flowing differently. Childhood was behind him. Silence was giving way to questions. Growing up, Yi Sun-sin grew. He grew taller. His shoulders broadened. But his voice did not change. Still calm, still measured. And still, he did not speak much. The first decision. As he stepped into youth, the thought he carried within was no longer just a dream. He wanted to become a soldier. But this decision was not made easily. Because soldiering was not only about holding a sword. It was obedience, pain, and often injustice. Yi Sun-sin knew all of this. And yet, he made his choice. State examinations. In Joseon, Korea, to become a soldier, there were state examinations. These exams tested not only strength, but character, morality, patience, discipline. Yi Sun-sin prepared for these examinations for months. Nights of preparation. When night fell, the house grew silent. While everyone slept, Yi Sun-sin was awake. He read texts, visualized archery in his mind, replayed his movements again and again. But he did not rush. He did not want to be fast. He wanted to be right. The first exam day. When the day of the exam arrived, the air was cool. Young men lined up in crowded ranks. Some were nervous, Some were confident. Yi Sun-sin, however, was silent because his battle was within. Archery. Archery was one of the most important parts of the examination. When Yi Sun-sin took the bow in his hands did not tremble. He breathed in a long breath, and he waited. While others shot quickly, he watched time. The accident. At the very moment of the shot, one step was misplaced. His foot slipped, and he fell. In his leg there was a sharp pain. The bone was broken. Silent pain. Yi Sun-sin did not shout. He did not grimace. He simply breathed, because in that moment, something else had broken. His dream. Failure. The examination ended there. The rules were clear. With a broken leg, one could not become a soldier. Yi Sun-sin was eliminated. On the way home, the road was long. Every step was painful. But the true pain was not in his leg. It was in his silence. Waiting. Months passed. His leg healed, but the exam was a year away. 1 year. Many would give up at this point. Yi Sun-sin did not. Beginning again. Every morning, the same discipline, the same repetitions. But this time, he was more careful. He noted his mistakes with patience. The second examination. When the day of the second exam arrived, the crowd felt familiar. But Yi Sun-sin was calmer, because now he knew what it meant to be defeated. Success. The arrow found its target. The movements were flawless, and Yi Sun-sin passed this time. But he did not rejoice, because for him, success was silent. First assignment. Yi Sun-sin was assigned to the land army, to distant border regions, cold, lonely, dangerous, but he did not complain. The real world. At the border, nothing was like it was in the books. There was bribery, there was favoritism, there was injustice. Yi Sun-sin did not partake in these, and this made him isolated. The price of honesty. Toward his superiors, he quietly spoke the truth. He did not break the rules, but this was not enough to be liked. On the contrary, first punishment. A mistake was placed on his shoulders. He was imprisoned. It was brief, but instructive. Yi Sun-sin understood that the enemy is not always in front of you. Loneliness. When he left prison, he became even quieter, but he did not break, because patience kept him standing. Lessons of youth. Yi Sun-sin now knew strength is not enough, courage is not enough, honesty sometimes is punished, but time puts everything in its place. A change of direction. Years later, he was given a new assignment, related to the sea. At that moment, he did not yet know its importance, but fate was being rewritten. A silent ending. His youth was not filled with victories, but the foundations were solid, and those foundations one day would hold a navy together. These were the trials of Yi Sun-sin's youth. Broken bones, an unbroken will. Chapter 3. Years in the Land Army. Night, as it slowly settled over the border fortresses. The stone walls drew the cold into themselves. Yi Sun-sin was now a soldier. Neither a hero nor a leader, just one who followed orders. a new life. Life in the land army was not as he had imagined. Here, even silence was harsh. The ground was hard. The wind was harsh. The people were even harsher. But Yi Sun-sin did not complain, because he had come to learn about the Joseon Land Army. In 16th century Joseon, Korea, the land army was large in numbers but disorganized. Weapons were outdated. Discipline was weak. Many commanders had gained their positions through palace connections. Yi Sun-sin noticed this quickly, and he noted it quietly. Border regions. His first assignment was near the northern borders. These places were far from the center, cut off from help, forgotten lands. Winters were long, nights even longer. While standing guard, Yi Sun-sin observed not only the enemy, but his own soldiers. Watching the soldiers. Who was afraid? Who was impatient? Who did not follow orders? Yi Sun-sin recognized people by their movements, not by their words, but by their actions. This habit would one day save lives. First clashes. In the border regions, small-scale clashes occurred. Not great battles, sudden raids, night attacks, small but deadly moments. In these encounters, Yi Sun-sin did not rush. He always thought of defense. Surviving with patience. In land warfare, the first lesson learned is this: every attack creates a counterattack. Yi Sun-sin did not take unnecessary risks. Because of this, he was called overly cautious, but his soldiers were alive. Honesty becomes a problem again. Yi Sun-sin quietly reported the mistakes made by his superiors: bribery, negligence, wrong decisions. But the system did not like this. Second imprisonment. After a clash, he was declared guilty. The real culprits were protected. Yi Sun-sin was sent to prison again. Days in prison. The prison was cold. It was damp. But for Yi Sun-sin, it was familiar. Silence, loneliness, waiting. Here, anger did not grow. Only understanding deepened. A truth. During these years, Yi Sun-sin realized this: an army stands not by weapons, but by people, and people make mistakes when they are afraid. Promotion. Despite all the obstacles, Yi Sun-sin drew attention through his ability. A small unit was entrusted to him. This was his first leadership. A small unit, a great lesson. He did not shout at his soldiers. He did not rush to punish. First, he listened. Then, he brought order. And in short time, his unit stood apart from the others. Information. Yi Sun-sin's discipline. Historical records highlight these traits of Yi Sun-sin: personally taking part in guard duty, ensuring fairness in provisions, eating the same food as his soldiers. This created respect. Japanese pirates. Okko. Along the southern coasts, Japanese pirates were attacking villages. Although Yi Sun-sin was in the land army, he studied these reports, and for the first time, he began to think about naval warfare. Watching the sea from afar.
During his assignments, he found himself in coastal regions. He watched the waves, the movement of ships, the currents, the wind. This was a preparation not yet noticed. A lonely officer. Yi Sun-sin was not social. He did not speak in meetings, but his reports were clear, and this made him dangerous.
A crossroads. Years passed in the land army. Yi Sun-sin learned how to fight, but something was missing. The land was limiting him. A new assignment. One day, an unexpected order arrived. An appointment related to the Navy. Yi Sun-sin was not surprised. He simply lowered his head. Silent acceptance. At that moment, he did not know that it would change his life, but the sea was waiting for him. What the land army taught him. These years were not filled with victories, but they taught him much. Patience, human psychology, discipline, the cost of mistakes. Yi Sun-sin left the land army not as a hero, but as a student. And this would make him invincible. Chapter 4. Meeting the Sea. The sea, at first glance, was calm. But Yi Sun-sin had learned in the land army that the things that appear calm are often the most dangerous. So when he looked at the sea, he did not see only water. He saw movement, balance, and patience. What was the naval assignment? The new duty given to Yi Sun-sin was related to the Navy. This assignment did not look like a promotion, because at that time, the Joseon Navy had been neglected. The ships were old, the soldiers were untrained, discipline was weak. Many officers saw naval duty as a punishment. Yi Sun-sin did not. The Joseon Navy, historical context. In the 16th century, the Joseon Korean Navy, focused on coastal defense, had little experience in open seas, was far from central authority. The ships were mostly Panoksan-type wooden vessels. These ships were flat-bottomed, suitable for the use of cannons, and effective in near-shore combat, but maintenance was insufficient. First observations. In his early days, Yi Sun-sin did not give orders. He did not speak. He only observed how the ships maneuvered, the fatigue of the rowers, the direction of the wind, and he realized something. The real problem was not the enemy. It was unpreparedness. What is a naval soldier? Unlike in the land army, at sea, Yi Sun-sin saw this. A soldier could not run away. At sea, retreat was not as easy as it was on land. For this reason, the morale of a naval soldier was far more important. The beginning of discipline. Yi Sun-sin began with small changes. Guard shifts were clearly defined. Provisions were distributed equally. Rowers were allowed proper rest. At first, these changes were met with resistance, but soon they produced results. Information. Yi Sun-sin's diaries. Yi Sun-sin kept daily records. These diaries are known as Nanjung Ilgi. In these records, the sea, the wind, and the psychology of soldiers are described in detail. This is a very rare source for military history. Learning the sea. Yi Sun-sin did not learn the sea from books. He learned the sea by living it. The tides, the currents, the phases of the moon. He marked these on his maps, and he waited. Knowledge of the Japanese Navy. Even before war began, Yi Sun-sin studied the enemy. The Japanese Navy used fast ships, excelled in close combat, attacked with hooks and swords, but they had a weakness. They were weak in cannon warfare. The advantage of the Panoxion. Yi Sun-sin recognized the advantages of the Panoxion ships. High sides, a solid hull, a wide deck. These ships were suited for cannon combat, but they were not being used correctly. Training. Yi Sun-sin did not exhaust his soldiers. He conditioned them. Short maneuvers, repetitions, silent drills. There was no noise, no shouting, but discipline was absolute. First small successes. The war had not yet begun, but during small patrols, order took hold. The soldiers began to trust their commander. This was the most important step. The sea and patience. At sea, Yi Sun-sin learned this. Sometimes not attacking is the greatest attack. If the wind is against you, you wait. If the current is wrong, you withdraw. But your soldiers remain ready. The idea of the turtle ship. A thought began to form in Yi Sun-sin's mind. The enemy came for close combat. Then he had to prevent them from getting close. An armored ship, covered on top, arrow-proof, making approach difficult. This idea was not implemented immediately. For years it matured. Turtle ships, a mix of wood and metal, a covered upper deck, spiked protrusions, cannon and arrow ports. But the true power lies not in the design, but in how it is used. Leadership at sea. Yi Sun-sin did not shout at sea. He communicated with signals. This reduced chaos, and the soldiers knew what to do. The power of knowledge. Yi Sun-sin repeated this every time. One does not fight in a sea one does not know. This sentence was his naval doctrine. War was approaching, but Yi Sun-sin did not rush. He prepared, because the sea does not forgive mistakes. Becoming one with the sea. Yi Sun-sin did not see the sea as an enemy. He saw it as a partner. The wind was his soldier. The current was his weapon. This was Yi Sun-sin's meeting with the sea. There was no legend yet, but knowledge was there. Chapter 5. The Turtle Ships and the First Victories. The sea, this time, was not silent. The wind was changing direction. The current was accelerating. Movement could be felt on the horizon. Yi Sun-sin had been waiting for this, because knowledge calls for preparation, and preparation calls for victory. The maturation of an idea. The idea of the turtle ship was not born overnight. It was the accumulation of years, experiences in the land army, observations made at sea, the tactics of the Japanese Navy. All of them converged at a single point. The enemy wanted close combat. Yi Sun-sin could not allow that.
Japanese naval warfare doctrine. The 16th century Japanese Navy closed in on ships rapidly, latched on with hooks, boarded enemy decks, and decided the outcome through close combat. This tactic created fear, but Yi Sun-sin defeated fear with planning. The purpose of the turtle ship. The turtle ship was designed not for attack, but for control. Yet control is victory itself. These ships prevented close engagement, broke enemy morale, protected their own soldiers, and most importantly, they bought time. The design process. Yi Sun-sin did not leave the design to the craftsman alone. He personally stood over it. The thickness of the wood, the placement of metal parts, the angle of the cannon ports, every detail was measured, quietly.
Information. The structure of the turtle ship. Turtle ships. Built based on the Panoksan. The upper deck was completely covered, reinforced with metal or thick wooden plating. Spiked protrusions were placed on top. These spikes made it impossible for the enemy to board the ship. The dragon-headed prow. At the front of the ship was a dragon's head. This was not decoration. Cannons could be fired from the dragon's mouth. In addition, it released smoke, creating a psychological effect. Psychological warfare. Yi Sun-sin did not only build ships, he built fear. A covered deck, unseen soldiers, smoke and sound. Japanese sailors could not understand what they were facing. The unknown terrifies. Crew training. Turtle ships required special training. Yi Sun-sin personally selected the crew. Those who did not panic, those who waited for orders, those who were patient. He trained them not by shouting, but through repetition. First trials. When the ships were ready, Yi Sun-sin did not rush into battle. First, he tested them. Maneuvers, turns, cannon fire. He saw mistakes. He corrected them. With patience. The beginning of war. The year was 1592. Japanese armies landed in Korea. The sea had become a road. If the sea were controlled, the land army would starve. Yi Sun-sin knew this. The first major engagements. The first naval battles seemed small, but their impact was great. The turtle ships moved to the front. Enemy vessels could not get close. Cannon fire was steady. Use of cannons. Yi Sun-sin did not use cannons randomly. Firing by distance, crossfire from the sides, timing designed to create panic. This was very rare for that era. First victories. Victory came quietly, but it was clear. Japanese ships retreated. For the first time, the Korean Navy established superiority. The result of discipline. After the victory, Yi Sun-sin did not celebrate. He told his soldiers, "The sea is not finished yet." The Battle of Hansan Island. One of Yi Sun-sin's first major victories took place near Hansan Island. Here, he used the crane wing formation. The ships spread out in a crescent shape. The enemy was trapped in the center. The crane wing formation. This formation enables encirclement, prevents escape, maximizes cannon fire. But to apply it, discipline is essential.
Yi Sun-sin's difference was exactly this. Echoes of victory. These victories reached the royal court. But every victory breeds jealousy. Yi Sun-sin was aware of this. The importance of controlling the sea. Yi Sun-sin's success lay here. The Japanese land army could not receive supplies. When sea routes are cut, the direction of war changes. The silent commander. After victory, Yi Sun-sin wrote reports. Plain, clear, emotionless. This was his style. The impact of the turtle ships. These ships were not miracles by themselves, but when used at the right time, in the right place, in the right way, they broke the game. The sea recognizes Yi Sun-sin. The soldiers trusted him, because he did not send them to die in vain. The turtle ships, the first victories. These did not make Yi Sun-sin famous, but they made him dangerous.
Chapter 6. Victories, Fame, and Jealousy. The sea seemed quiet, but Yi Sun-sin knew that silence was the most dangerous kind of silence. Victory always came quietly, and one had to be careful, very careful. Unbroken series of victories. Under Yi Sun-sin's command, the Korean Navy began to win battle after battle. The Japanese Navy lost superiority at sea. Small skirmishes turned into major tactical victories. Korean naval battles. Between 1592 to 1598, Yi Sun-sin used archery and cannons effectively, positioned ships in proper formations, mastered psychological warfare. These methods fundamentally changed naval warfare of the time. The crane wing formation, revisited. Yi Sun-sin's most famous tactic was the crane wing. The ships spread out in a crescent shape. Japanese ships were trapped in the center. Cannon fire blocked their approach and broke enemy morale. First major fame. Yi Sun-sin's name reached the Korean court, but this fame did not bring only approval. Jealousy at the court. Some commanders were filled with envy. This young officer shows off too much, they said. Yi Sun-sin knew this, but he remained silent, because silence could be the best response. Court and bureaucracy. In the Joseon court, success did not always bring reward. Rivalry and jealousy increased. Slander and gossip were common. Yi Sun-sin observed these things at a young age, and later he learned to be prepared. The first major slander. Some high-ranking officers tried to overshadow Yi Sun-sin's achievements. False information spread in the court. Victories are a matter of luck, they claimed. But the people knew the truth. The trust of the people. The Korean people loved Yi Sun-sin because he protected his ships, protected his soldiers, and stopped the enemy. The support of the people was quiet but strong. The collapse of Japanese morale. Yi Sun-sin's tactics shocked the Japanese. Turtle ships, use of cannons and arrows, formations. Each of these slowly broke the enemy's morale. The psychological effect of victories. Yi Sun-sin knew this well. A naval victory is not just winning ships. Breaking the enemy's hope is even more important, and he achieved this with every victory. Silent fame. After victories,
Yi Sun-sin did not speak. In his reports, he only wrote the situation, resources, plans for the future. He did not write about his feelings, because for the soldiers and the people, what mattered most was the victory itself. Naval statistics. Under Yi Sun-sin's command, 23 major naval battles, 30 to 40 Japanese ships sunk or captured, minimal losses. This achievement was unparalleled in the naval history of the time. The enemy's first reaction. The Japanese considered Yi Sun-sin dangerous. Their commanders planned to eliminate him, but Yi Sun-sin thought ahead of every move. Discipline and morale. Yi Sun-sin did not shout after victory. He rewarded his crew, but it was not showy, because the sea always brought another battle. The cost of jealousy. At court, jealousy increased. Yi Sun-sin's duties were attempted to be reduced, but the king knew his talent, and he supported him.
Early psychological warfare. Yi Sun-sin arranged his ships to surprise the enemy. Use of smoke, dragonhead simulations, silent maneuvers. The enemy was stunned at every move. Support from the people and soldiers. The soldiers listened to him, because every order was logical and life-saving. The people talked about him, but Yi Sun-sin remained silent. The importance of victories. Yi Sun-sin's victories did more than control the sea, protected supplies for the land army, halted Japanese advances, boosted Korean morale, and Yi Sun-sin observed this quietly. Victories, fame, and jealousy, they tested Yi Sun-sin, but he never changed. Silence, calm, patience were always with him.
Chapter 7. Jealousy and Betrayal. The sea kept its silence, but Yi Sun-sin knew that silence does not always inspire trust. Victories, fame, and earned respect always bring jealousy as well. Jealousy at the court. Yi Sun-sin's successes had become unbearable for some officers. This young officer draws too much attention. Victories are mere luck. He does not deserve the praise. These quietly spreading words reached Yi Sun-sin, but he remained silent, because silence is the best defense. Joseon court politics. In Joseon, Korea, success did not always bring reward. Rivalry and jealousy increased. Slander and gossip were common. Yi Sun-sin had not forgotten the court intrigues he observed in his youth while serving at sea. The first betrayal. The year was 1597. Yi Sun-sin's victories annoyed not only the Japanese, but also the jealous at court. A commander spread slander against him. Victories are exaggerated, failures are hidden, they claimed. Arrest and dismissal. Yi Sun-sin explained the situation calmly and methodically in a report, but the court did not believe him. He was arrested, dismissed from his position. Silent solitude. In prison, Yi Sun-sin remained silent, but there was no anger. He only thought, analyzing every mistake, planning ahead. The state of Korea. Meanwhile, the Japanese advanced along the southern coast. The land army was vulnerable without naval support,
Yi Sun-sin's absence disrupted the military balance. Time to return. The king realized the seriousness of the situation. He knew it was impossible to control the sea without an experienced commander like Yi Sun-sin, and Yi Sun-sin was summoned. Quiet acceptance. Yi Sun-sin accepted his return silently. He did not speak, but his eyes were determined. Japanese invasions and strategy. As the Japanese invaded Korea's southern coast, they moved quickly with their ships, landed to plunder villages, and controlled sea routes to support the land army. Yi Sun-sin's mission was to stop them. The importance of betrayal. Yi Sun-sin understood the impact of court intrigues on naval warfare. He worked only with trusted officers, inspected the ships personally, and trusted his crew. Preparation and discipline. After his return, watch schedules were reorganized, ships were inspected, turtle ships were prepared. Everything proceeded quietly but decisively. The first major test. Yi Sun-sin awaited the Japanese Navy's renewed attack, but this time he was prepared. Turtle ships, crane wing formation, cannon and arrow strategy, all were in place. Forgetting victory and betrayal. Even after victory, Yi Sun-sin remained silent. No lavish celebrations, no self-praise, only reports and order. Because for a commander, every victory was temporary. Yi Sun-sin's strategic genius. Yi Sun-sin's success was based on a disciplined crew, strategic use of ships, psychological warfare, timing, and patience. And despite betrayals, he never gave up. Combating betrayal. Yi Sun-sin had learned the enemy is not only at sea, but also within the court. Intrigues must be accounted for when planning strategies. This awareness made him exceptional. Support from the people and soldiers. Yi Sun-sin was silent but strong. The soldiers trusted him, the people talked about him, the king believed in him. Silence could be powerful. Outcome. By enduring jealousy and betrayal, Yi Sun-sin remained patient, maintained his discipline, prepared for victory, and thus took the first step toward becoming a legend at sea. Jealousy, betrayal, buried in silence. But Yi Sun-sin never stepped back. Chapter 8. Myeongnyang and Legendary Victories. The sea is not always silent. Sometimes silence misleads the enemy. Sometimes the waves bring victory. Yi Sun-sin was waiting for such a moment. Myeongnyang Strait. The year was 1957, a critical year for Korea. The Japanese attacked again, and the Korean Navy was almost destroyed. Yi Sun-sin sailed with only 13 ships. Fact. Features of Myeongnyang Strait. The strait is narrow with sharp currents. Only a limited number of ships can move side by side. Tides change very rapidly. Yi Sun-sin knew this geography. He calculated every current, every corner. The 13-ship fleet. Only 13 ships remained. Once there had been hundreds, now only 13. The soldiers were afraid, but Yi Sun-sin remained silent. His eyes read the waves and the wind.
Preparation and formation. Yi Sun-sin placed his ships in the narrow part of the strait. Crane wing formation. Tight formation. Optimal distance for cannon fire. Although the Japanese were numerically superior, they could not detect Yi Sun-sin's strategy. Japanese Navy and strategy. Japanese ships were fast and numerous, focused on close combat, limited use of cannons. But Yi Sun-sin used the narrow strait and cannon advantage to annihilate the enemy. The first clash. The Japanese attacked. Cannon fire, the sound of the waves, and the wind mixed everything together. Yi Sun-sin's ships fired calmly and accurately.
Psychological warfare. The turtle ships confused the enemy. Smoke from the dragon heads, the spiked decks, and the unseen soldiers. Before the Japanese understood what they were facing, they began losing their ships. The scale of victory. 13 ships stopped hundreds of enemy vessels. Japanese ships were destroyed. Their morale collapsed. Critical time was gained for Korea. Yi Sun-sin's genius was fully revealed. Historical significance. Battle of Myeongnyang. Most critical naval battle in Korean history. Demonstrated that a smaller force can prevail. Yi Sun-sin's strategic genius went down in history. This victory halted Japanese advancement and made Korea's defense possible. Silence of victory. Yi Sun-sin held no extravagant celebrations after the battle. He simply reported the situation, listed resources, and planned for the future. This was his unique leadership style. Support of soldiers and people. Soldiers trusted him. The people spoke of him. Yi Sun-sin remained silent, yet his determination, leadership, and strategy gave hope to everyone.
Psychological impact of victory. Collapse of Japanese morale. Rise of Korean morale. Control of the sea routes. All achieved through Yi Sun-sin's strategic planning and patience. Impact of the turtle ships. Maximum defense in the narrow strait. Use of cannon and arrows. Confusing the enemy. Moral superiority. Without these ships, 13 vessels could not have held against the Japanese numbers.
Fact. Yi Sun-sin's warfare doctrine. Know the enemy. Use terrain and sea geography. Gain psychological superiority. Maintain a disciplined crew. Attack patiently and deliberately. At Myeongnyang, all these elements came together. Silent victory. Yi Sun-sin led his ships through the strait without speaking. Every order was given with silent signals. Every maneuver was carefully planned. After the victory, the Japanese retreated. Korea regained control of the seas. Yi Sun-sin reached legendary status, but he never sought praise. Yi Sun-sin won the greatest battle of his naval career. The turtle ships, the crane wing formation, 13 ships, all went down in history. And silence once again concealed the victory.
Chapter 9. Final Years, Death, and Legacy. The sea fell silent once again. But silence did not always mean peace.
Yi Sun-sen, after years of relentless struggles, was preparing to carry out his final mission. New missions and battles. The year was 1598. The Japanese occupation was still ongoing. Yi Sun-sen once again organized the seemingly weak Korean Navy. Turtle ships ready, crew trained, strategy clear. But the enemy was still numerically superior and experienced. Japanese strategy. In 1598, the Japanese used the sea routes to support their army, carried out rapid attacks and coastal raids, advanced with a high morale seasoned navy. Yi Sun-sen calculated every move in advance.
Struggle and planning. Yi Sun-sen's plan was simple. Fight in narrow channels, use the turtle ships, employ cannons and arrows with maximum effect, and keep morale high. This plan was born from the experience he had gained in previous battles. After Myeongnyang. Following the Myeongnyang victory, Yi Sun-sen reinforced the navy, developed new strategies, and waited calmly and patiently. Every move was preparation for future battles. Final battles. Yi Sun-sen faced his last battle in 1598. The Japanese had planned a major attack. The Korean Navy faced them with only a few ships. The enemy came with numerical superiority. But Yi Sun-sen's strategy remained flawless. The Battle of Myeongnyang. Yi Sun-sen's final battle took place at Myeongnyang. Date 1598. Ships, turtle ships, and panoxion. Strategy, use of narrow channels, psychological advantage, cannon and arrow fire. This battle was Korea's last critical resistance against the Japanese invasion. Yi Sun-sen's determination. During the battle, Yi Sun-sen remained silent, gave commands with signals, kept his crew's morale high. Every action was measured and calculated. Death. During the Myeongnyang battle, Yi Sun-sen was martyred under enemy fire, between bullets and arrows, beside his crew, having fulfilled his duty. But his death did not overshadow the victory. On the contrary, it made him a legend. Impact of his death. Yi Sun-sen's death left a deep impression on his soldiers and the people. Even the Japanese admired his strategy. It secured his place as an unforgettable leader in Korean history. Even after his death, his strategies and tactics continued to be taught as lessons. Legacy. Yi Sun-sen's legacy. Naval strategy. Turtle ships and the crane wing formation. Leadership. Command through discipline, patience, and silence. Psychological warfare. Defeating the enemy mentally. Historical records. His diaries, Nanjung Ilgi, and strategic notes. This work serves as a lesson not only for Korea, but for naval warfare worldwide. Nanjung Ilgi. Yi Sun-sen's diaries. Recorded every battle in detail. Noted enemy movements. Documented strategies and tactics. This work is an invaluable resource for military history and naval warfare studies. Silence and respect. Yi Sun-sen was a silent leader. He sought no praise for victory. He risked his own life. He protected his soldiers and the people. This silence gave him true strength. Conclusion. Yi Sun-sen
earned respect and fear in his time, became a legend through his victories and tactics. Even his death strengthened Korea's resistance. Turtle ships, crane wing formation, discipline, patience, all of these made Yi Sun-sin's legacy immortal. And so, Yi Sun-sin's life came to an end, but his strategy, discipline, and silent leadership lived on eternally. The sea was always silent, but Yi Sun-sin's legend continued to live on in the waves.